Since I was very small, I've always drawn, and particularly wildlife. And I think growing up in central London with no garden had a huge effect on me. So I'd spend many hours in my bedroom drawing from images from books. So we would go to the parks where I'd feed the squirrels and the birds, and we'd go to the zoo and I'd be fascinated. But it was always back to drawing in my bedroom from books. And that's actually how it's evolved now. That's how I do all of my drawings now. I don't find drawing from life for me has enough detail in it. So I tend to use images found online or extensive books that I've collected over the years, because say for one piece I might look for 8 different images of a bird, of the same bird. So I'm looking for different angles, looking up, looking sideways, feeding, bickering, all the things that birds do. So I'm looking for that interaction and that movement always. So it can take quite a lot of research to get all the images ready to do the drawings from for each piece. Over time I've become more and more fascinated with tropical life. And of course I have no access to tropical wildlife here. So again it's references from books, David Attenborough's films, things like that, and he's been pivotal, really. I actually sent David Attenborough a piece of my work and I had a very nice letter back. All of my work begins with a drawing. I then make tracings. I then cut those out. They'll be ready to go onto the thrown piece when it's leather hard. All of my pieces are wheel thrown. I soak the paper in water and then I apply it to the piece. I then take a scalpel blade and I cut round each piece of paper and then I sponge back. So this process creates a relief, and I like a nice sharp edge because I'm going to be applying the slips onto the relief. If you have a slightly rounded edge, the slip can blend and kind of push off onto the piece. Once that's completed and the piece has gone back to being leather hard rather than soaking wet, I remove the paper. At the same time, I usually carve the necks of the pieces. Some can be jagged, some can be just a V. So I'm looking to replicate things growing up. I always tend to have a main theme that grows up from the base of the piece right up across the neck and envelopes the neck. So it creates a bit of movement. I remove the paper, usually from the foliage first, leaving the main themes of the piece, say the butterflies or the birds, till last, because I want to keep those as damp as possible for as long as possible. I will flip the piece over into a chuck. I'll have my slips already made up, and then I will slowly apply to the base. Once that has dried slightly, I take a sharp tool. I like to use dentist tools. These are fantastic, and I tend to bend them to create different kind of angles. I find a different angle can create a different line. So once the base has been completed, I start to apply the slips to the main themes, and this can take quite a long time. And then it's the sgraffito once the slips have been applied. And my slips are all created from my clay body. I use a very white stoneware, allow the clay to dry down. I then refine this down into a powder, and then I add my colours, and then I add the water. I tend to use cobalts for the blues always, because it has a lovely liveliness. But with a lot of the other colours, it is a combination of a commercial bought stain with that natural oxide. And I do love using manganese dioxide. That's one of my favourites. When I start to glaze, I only choose to glaze the main themes of each piece. So it would be the butterfly or the birds. I don't tend to glaze any of the foliage or the flowers. So it's highlighting that main theme. So it's a lovely shiny bird in amongst very matte foliage. Ceramics is it's all I really think about, apart from my partner and my 2 cats. It's a love affair. It is definitely an obsession and a passion, and I think that once you're gripped by it, it's very hard to shake. And each idea leads on to another idea. So it's that kind of thinking forward and moving on.